I know everybody's busy, and I'm thankful for your time. Really, I'm happy to be here. For those of you guys that I haven't met over there in the virtual world, whether Tracy or Merced, Los Banos, I know everybody. That's actually originally where I'm from. My name is George Hernandez, and I'm not, they can't hear me, right? I'm actually the regional growth manager here for the area, which means I help in every office wherever I can. Currently with you guys, and for a long period of time from the good side, I'll be with you guys leading you as manager. So contract questions, I'm sorry, I'm speaking to Modesto right now. You guys can't see me. Contract questions or anything like that we've been working through. She's not here. She was here. You can reach out to me and ask me any questions that you want. Hopefully I know. If I don't know, there's a lot of resources that I lean on, like Elizabeth Pedrick, Jason and Nish. It depends on where it's at. I could filter them pretty quick, and they're pretty good about answering me. So I kind of bait and switched you guys in a sense where I put it as a becoming an investor, right? That was the invitation. So the goal for all investors that I've at least worked with isn't just being an investor, right? It's not just becoming that person who buys, who sells, who holds, or whatever it might be. It's not about buying or selling. It's about building a future, right? It's about building a future not only for yourself, a good, comfortable one, but then also if you decide to do this, most people do generationally, right? And if you look at how we're working through, right? You could, okay. So yeah, so if you look at the definition, right, of what generational wealth is, generational wealth, and I'm just going to read it off the top of my head off here, refers to financial assets passed by one generation of a family to another. Those assets can include cash, stocks, bonds, and other investments, as well as real estate and family businesses. No, you can sit on top of that. Yep. So when we look at the type of investing or the type of ability to be able to kind of build a portfolio, right? There's a bunch of different assets, or there's a bunch of different ways we can do that. But realistically, because we are in the business, it should be easier for us to understand the process and to get into the business of real estate, right? When you guys are in the business like now, and when you're working with clients, right? What are the motivators to buy most of the time? I'm gonna, if you guys want to open up and chime in as well online, or if you guys want to just answer, that's fine. So why does somebody buy a house typically?
Security,
Financial security over here from Modesto, right? So financial security, right? But they want a place kind of for themselves, right? That's kind of your usual person. But if you look at the back tone of it, a lot of them, when you keep on asking questions, they're like, hey, well, I want a house for myself, but I want it for my kids. So I can leave something for my kids, right? And that's what it comes down to. Where what I started realizing is you guys are all independent contractors as I am, right? What retirement, you said, unless you have a salary or a retirement account, what retirement do we really have, right? We have two things that we can really kind of transfer or transition to our kids if they decide. Number one, that's our book of business. If we keep a good CRM, I mean, that could mean generational wealth as well, right? But let's be honest, the 95% of us do not keep a CRM. I think that's what we kind of tapped into when we're researching data and what type of CRM. And that's just kind of like a general number for everybody, right? If you talk to most folks, do you have a CRM? Yes, because we all do, right? We all have the resource center. How many of us are using it? How many of us are implementing it, right? Yeah, and it becomes one of those things where, like, there's four, right? And there's probably, I don't know, now on there's probably 50 or so people on. I guarantee you that the percentage is very low. And that is what it is, because we get busy, right? Life happens, people start concentrating on different things, kids happen, retirement happens, deaths happen, whatever it is, but we move on, right? So it's something we don't have to work. So what I started to think through, and a lot of folks, is if you look at the really top 1%, I mean, they're very heavy in assets, and not liquid assets, but real estate assets. So then why aren't we doing it? Because we're selling it. So why aren't we buying our own product? Right?
We don't have any money.
No, you're absolutely right. Someone in Modesto said we don't have any money.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. We don't have any money. Another one that I hear a lot, we don't know how, right? We don't know how. We're scared of the risk, whatever it might be, right? So then these are all things that we're going to go through so you can understand, number one, it's not that difficult, right? It really does take a little bit of risk aversion, but it's not gambling, it's strategic investment. That's what I call it, right? And then as we go through it and kind of and work through it, I'll show you some examples of where you can buy it, how you can buy it, and how you can leverage each other or leverage other opportunities to be able to acquire property. Not only that, but let's say you don't want to do it, right? Because honestly, only real estate, especially a lot of real estate, is not for everybody. At least you know when you get in front of that investor what you to talk to about, and then you start speaking their language, right? Okay, so now we go. So then, yeah, here it is, right? It's like, so when we're looking at different types of acquisitions, right? There's different types of real estate investment that we're going to go through. The first one is that we're going to look at is the long-term investments and then the short-term investments. What am I do that is the buy and hold and then the fix and flip, right? It's two different ways you could go about the business. I really truly believe that the way you decide that is where you are in your stage of life, right? It's like, am I getting close to retirement? So do I need an extra whatever amount of money? Can I find the property to fix and flip? Am I kind of in the middle, right? Where it's going to take me another 20, 25 years to retire. I can buy and hold, and that's really my goal, right? So then this here is my I call it my nerd brain, right? Because I love to learn this type of stuff. And you actually called me yesterday or Wednesday about absorption rate and how to work through that. I love doing that stuff. You give me the numbers, I'll give you my Excel sheet, and I'm in there for half an hour trying to make sure I have the right thing, right? Um, but there's a bunch of different ways you look at a bunch of different ways you could look at when analyzing or underwriting. I'm going to use underwriting a property, right? And the first one is cap rate, right? And this analysis, right? It gives you look at three different metrics, and I don't know. I'm not in the way, am I? No, they're not seeing me. Can you guys still see the screen if I walk here? And Tracy, can you guys just give me a thumbs up if you can see my slides? Okay, perfect. Yeah. So again, I'm trying to make it work there. Okay. So as you guys can see here, I'm just going to read right off the screen, right? As analyzing a property can get very complex, like we talked about. Like how do I know if it's a good piece of property? There's really three different metrics that will drive your decision, and the first is the cap rate. And this is the metric. By metric, I mean measurement or the way you evaluate or underwrite a property, right? A lot of you guys might be familiar with cap rates. Some of us aren't, right? And it stands for the capitalization rate, right? And it's defined as the real estate valuation measure used to compare different real estate investments. If you purchase a property cash, what will be the return? That's just the end of it. Like, okay, if you're going to buy cash, what's the return on investment? The ROI. If you want to kind of break it down like that, but there's a formula for it. Okay. So the formula breaks down like this: net operating income divided by the sales price. For those of us who don't know what the net operating income is, it's the property management, maintenance fees, any kind of expense against the property, and then you divide it against the sales price, and that'll give you a cap rate, right? In the state of California, Dan, do you do commercial property? Okay, so in the state of California, the cap rate is a little bit lower. Like, let's say you're looking into Tennessee. Currently, I'm looking into Michigan. I could find cap rates of like 12%. That's 12% return. If you go into like a mutual fund, you're probably averaging about 8%, more or less, or some kind of like safe investment but in the state of California, it's a lot lesser. People are transferring property between 45 or 45.5%, right? Because what the folks are doing, there's a lot of money here. They're investing, let's say there's a commercial development or on the highway, right? Actually, somebody from the office is listing a property on the highway here in Modesto. It's an acre, right? It's perfect for a gas station, right? So somebody buys that property, puts a gas station on it, and then resells it. That's most of the time what happens. Then they're going to be looking at the cap rate. And again, that's a bigger way of looking at it. So yep, that's what it looks like there. Hold on. That's what it looks like there. It's an easy formula, 6.25. I chose these numbers because that's very, like I said, specific to our area. It's a little bit high run. If you guys know anybody with money or investing, if you bring in between a 6.5% and 7% cap rate property, they're going to buy it. Like they're just going to buy it because they're looking at here in California. You look at the cap rate plus you look at appreciation, right? And in how many years is it going to be worth how much, right? I mean, in 2008, what were we buying properties here in Modesto for? You think about it. I mean, what was your average in 2008, 2009 for those of us who were around?
253.
253. Okay. In Los Banos, we were seeing properties at $24,000. Condos. We were seeing properties for, and probably in Merced as well, fourplexes, eightplexes selling for 70,000, 75,000, 80,000. Yeah. Okay, and then I'll get into how those areas are important for those of us who are looking to invest at the end. Okay, another metric that we look at is cash on cash return, right? And I'm going to read it just right off of here. Is the second metric is cash on cash return, or the cash yield is a lot of people look at it that way. The cash yield is more that's they use that more in the like stock market or like the brokers or financial planners. That's what they'll talk about, right? And it measures the real estate investor's annual pre-tax earnings on a property relative to the initial amount spent to purchase the property itself. So then if you go to the next one, it should give us an example of it, right? So then, based on your initial down payment and closing cost, what's your cash on cash return, right? If you look at the middle line and the bottom line, it'll give it to you right there. And as if you can see, the reason I'm not talking about buying a retail store at this point is because you need a lot of down payment. Usually you need a pretty stable place to be able to finance it. But the reality is, like, the higher the unit count is in residential property, the higher your cash on cash return is. Okay, go ahead.
Dealing with your cash flow, how do you come up with that price if the market is fluctuating so greatly when you're trying to figure out rents?
I would, okay, so like, let's say that's a very, and I'm just gonna repeat the question just so you can hear me. Okay, so when the question from here Modesto from Dan is when you're evaluating or figuring out cash flow, what is the best way to do it, right? And I guess I'm gonna break it down in two different ways. The first one is gonna be looking at the leases, actually, like the tenant estoppels, right? So let's say that's stable. It could be you could buy a 20-unit apartment complex that has 60% new leases because maybe they bought it, they rehabbed it, and they have 1 year on it. So there's just stability for the year, and that should be your base on there, right? Because what will happen is if 40% of the units are kind of grandfathered in and they're on a month to month, you have the ability to raise your rent and to kind of work individually. So that's what I would look at. That's not the first one, right? Is the current lease is established, and the second one, there's a bunch of different platforms that you go on there and find kind of like your average rent, right? CoStar, LoopNet, any commercial site, you go on there and kind of choose an area, go in there, and they'll say, hey, based on the data, because people report the leases on there, this is what your monthly rent is today, and they can give you the historical behind it, right? And when you're looking at commercial property, the good thing with that is, let's say you do decide to buy that 1 acre, you're going to put the gas station. Those are 25-year leases. So there's stability there left and right. And those are usually corporate leases, right? Again, cash on cash return is good. But the one that I like is kind of the ARV, right? Is because the ARV is the after repair value, right? And it's measured. It's a measure used by real estate investors and house flippers to estimate the future value of a property after renovations. Or in our world, that would be your CMA if the property was fixed up. It's as easy as that. Like, okay, we're going to find this piece of dirt, and then or this house that should be a piece of dirt, right? Right? And what is it worth? What's it going to be worth after we fix it? And we should know that just by looking at it. And let me go back because I'm not sure. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to go back and kind of address these, right? Kind of address these. So and the long-term kind of deal. So then when I talk about stage of life, you also have to look at looking at different investors, right? When you look at all different things, like me personally, when I'm analyzing a property or when I'm analyzing a property or when I'm looking to acquire a property or secure property, I start with this, the ARV. The ARV, I start with this because it's forced equity, right? So I buy a property, let's say for $300,000. I know the area is selling, or because I like buying multi, like 4, 2 to 6, 2 to 8, whatever it is. Let's say you find a 4 unit, right? You know that price per door should be at about, I don't know, what's an 8 unit cost here in Modesto? Just it is
An 8 unit?
an 8 unit. Oh, let's say 4. Let's say 4. 600,000, right? So if you divide 600,000 by 4, what is it? About 150,000 per door, or something, whatever it might be. So then that's when I'm looking at something. I'm looking at that ARV. So if there's a property that's 600,000 and that's what they're selling for, I'm not going to buy it because I'm looking for forced equity. But I'm in that place where I'm looking for long-term investments, right? So I'm looking at not $150,000. I'm looking between $70,000 to $90,000 a door. That's kind of that's my mindset. So it's not half, but it's almost half because I know that I'm probably going to invest another $25,000 per door to get there. So I still want that. I want to force that equity, right? So once I fix it, I rehab it and I stabilize it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, okay, I have that. So I'm going to take all my money out and then I'm going to look, okay, I invested X amount, $100,000. So then after the rental price, and this is what's going to determine whether or not I keep a property, is after I rent it, what's my cash return on that initial $100,000 that I put in to fix it, right? And we'll go through a scenario in a little bit on what that looks like. But that's really the way I want to look at it, right? A lot of folks with a lot of money are just looking at this, right? They're just looking at cash on cash because they don't need to they don't need to build that asset up. They just need something to return. Okay, I have whatever it is, right? You got these for example, there's a lot of tech folks that had a lot of big stock options, right? When the market took a kind of went down a little, what they started doing is selling them and pulling it out, right? And they were getting a 10-12% return. So they didn't really care about the forced equity. They just wanted that 10-12% return. So they were coming over, at least in Los Banos, and they were looking at property. They said, hey, I want to make 12%. This is how much money I have to invest. What can you find me? Right. And you should be able to understand that because, okay, you go based on the rent, you put in the formula, here it is, here's your percentages. And I actually have, for those of you guys in Tracy and in Merced, I put together an Excel sheet that you put in the purchase price and then it'll give you, because I have a price per square foot, like what it's going to cost to rehab, kind of typical, and then it'll analyze, and I'll show it then, it'll analyze everything for you. And you can say, oh, okay, you buy this property, this is, wow. You guys have to put the what it's worth, right? But it'll give you everything else. It's pretty cool. Again, just the way I like to do it. But anyways, that cash on cash return, people with a lot of money, that's what you want to, that's what they want to do. They don't care about, having to fix it and make money. They're not looking for a quick fix flip, right? They're looking for hey, let's go. The flippers that we're going to go through here, this is what they're just looking at, right? They're just looking at this. They're just looking at the ARV because, again, they want to know, okay, this is quick. This is 3-4 month turnaround time, right? What are we going to do? And I've been involved in a few of these. This is actually an example of mine, the one that I did. This was a couple of years ago, but I put it in there because it's easy. So the purchase price was $535. The ARV at that time, or a ride repaired value, was $715,000, right? And then we looking at the way we identified it, right? Actually, I'm sorry, I skipped that one. So I did that slide before. I got excited. Sorry, guys. But it's basically what I went up to, right? It's like short-term flips, who's it for, long-term flips, single-family homes. But we'll go right into the flips, the way that looks like. And here's a calculator I put together. If you guys take a look at it, Tracy, Merced, or Los Banos, is the screen, the numbers big enough, or do you want me to kind of make it bigger? Not big enough? Okay, it's good.
Oh, good. Thumbed up.
Okay, good. So flips, this is a perfect out. You guys have flippers out there. You guys have folks that want to do it. This is it. You see here, I just put the first mortgage. I have the commission. I have actually in there a formula for like title fees, escrow fees directly from the title company. So then when I look at it, yeah, it's not going to be perfect. There might be, I don't know. Do I have that 3% in there? Like, for example, here, I know I missed it because I did something different, but there's like a 3% California fee, right? If you have a house, that you bought within the 12 months or whatever, and you didn't live in it, it's an escrow automatically withdraws 3% to pay the state. That's just the way they work. But as if you can see here, I have most of them, right? It's like cost to cure. Cost to cure is what it's going to cost me to fix it. And actually, I was spot on when I did this analysis. It was actually, I think it was like 52,000, but it wasn't that much.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Is this in an Excel file that you did?
Yep.
Would you be able to share that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Actually, it's in a Google Doc file. You guys have, I'll just share it with everybody via Google Docs, or maybe you could turn it into an Excel file for me.
I might be able to.
Yeah. The only thing with that is that it kind of changes the formulas, I think, but we'll work on it. We'll get it out to you guys. Yeah. Because I do everything on Google.
Very helpful.
Oh, really? Yeah. This is cool because, again, it's just somebody calls you and you just plug it in. Obviously, change the rates to your local, which should be the same escrow title company. Maybe, like, for example, Los Banos doesn't have city transfer fees. Modesto maybe does. There's other certain fees specific to this each city. Whatever it is.
Extra recording fee.
Yeah. And again, this is just more like a general high level view of it. You might be missing something, but you won't be that far, right? I would think it wasn't. So then we got the cost to cure, which is to fix up. That's in line right under TC for those of you guys that are listening from Merced and outside of Modesto. Escrow fees, dock prick fee. If there's any other kind of I put this previous escrow fee because sometimes what happens is that you buy it, and we're going to talk about where you can find these deals. You buy it from real estate agents, so you have to pay your escrow fee initially, right? So again, you want to calculate all in there because that's bottom line. That's bottom line net for you, okay? Dock prick fee if they have it, a notary fee. Oh, there's a state of California fee, the 3%. I do have it. I just didn't write it down. It must be in there. State of California fee, and then the carrying costs, right? The carrying costs, The easiest way to look at it is your mortgage against the property. If you're not buying cash, right? Some folks buy cash. I don't. I just choose not to. It doesn't make any sense to me to keep all your cash when you can continue to scale, and use only part of it to grow, right? But some folks have enough cash where they're like, hey, we've got $3 million in the bank or in a fund. We can pull 500,000 out, $700,000 out to be able to buy, fix, and flip, and then put it right back in there, right? So my mortgage on this was $4,000, right? So I had to be liquid enough to be able to carry that for 4 months. It took me, I think, 60 days to fix up, and then 30 days, and I think it closed a bit before the 90 days or the 120 days. But anyhow, that's more or less what it looks like. So now, yeah, my net to me at that transaction was $72,000, right? It's just a quick flip. Here we go. Um, Again, and the reason that I chose to do this flip and not what we're going to get into next, the long-term rentals, or to keep it long-term, because it's a single family house. I don't like personally to do single family houses, because if the tenant leaves, then you're stuck with the vacancy. And now if you have mortgage on it, which I do, then I'm responsible for the whole thing. And I don't like paying for gas. I don't like paying for taxes. I don't like paying for mortgages myself. So it becomes one of those things like, yeah, no. So I don't keep them, but I flip it. But actually, I just closed one on God, when I closed one last week or 2 weeks ago. I bought another house for paid 160,000, sold for 255,000, I think, or whatever it is. I was going to keep that one because the rent was so good on it, but then it just became more problematic than it was worth, so I sold it. Right, I think it was last week, maybe yeah, last week, sometime last week I closed. But again, a good little return. It gave me money while I held it. I think I only invested like $7,000 into it because it was red tagged by the city. I don't know, I had some issues, but because I'm not in the construction business, but I know people in the construction business. It was pretty cheap for me to fix up, and with tenants already, no problem. So now, yeah, now it's sold and now it's gone. So there are opportunities out there. That's if you look for them, right? Okay, no, the wrong way. So,
Okay. All right.
yep. So rentals, you want to look at all three, right? If you want to keep all three, I start with ARV because I could force equity and refinance and take all my money out. That's really the goal. Is if I buy a property and I'm going to keep the numbers easy, for $100,000, I put $20,000, $20,000 into fixing it. That's $120,000 all in, right? Whether it's a mortgage or not. So my goal is to keep the ARV under 70%. That way I could refinance it into a regular conventional loan or a DSC. We'll talk about the other ways to do it. So I can refinance it, get my money out, pay that hard money lender, because that's what I use. We'll talk about hard money lending, and then get my money out, but continue to get a good little decent cap rate, and then figure out what my cash on cash return was for those $20,000 initial investment, or whatever it might be, 20 plus thousand, right? So, but I always start with the ARV because I love forcing equity. And the thing is, and I'm going to go on a little rabbit hole. What I've learned is that if you buy a property that has 5 units or more, people say it's harder to acquire, but we can talk about this later. But they go off of rents; they don't go off of property values, right? So even 4 units or below, because I have a couple 4 units in duplexes, regardless of where your rent is, the value goes off what's sold, kind of like residential property, right? So rents are super high right now. So I thought my property was worth a whole lot more than what the bank is saying they're willing to lend on it. I mean, it's not. It's still good for you, but at that point, from now on, at least for the next 18 months, what I'm going to be looking for are 6 plus units, probably. Ideally, I want to do 10 to 12 at a time.
Are you doing your own property management?
I am. I do my own property management. Yeah, but I'm lucky because most of mine are in my area. So I live in Los Banos, and most of mine between Los Banos and Los. I had one in Fresno, which that's the one I sold, and I sold it specifically because it wasn't in my area. I was like, I'm out of here. But if I would have had 6 there, I would have kept them because it's worth the drive to go check on properties, right? So you go ARV, cash, ARV, and then cash on cash, and then the cap rate. If I ever want to sell it, then I know it has a good cap rate. Right? But again, every person is in a different spectrum or area or time in their life on how to do it.
Have you
Cool.
ever used a property management?
I haven't only because I'm in business, right? So I figure, and because I am fixing them and they're together most of the time, I'm there anyway. So if there's an issue, and I also have a guy full time that works for me. So he's my kind of heady guy, and he's out there fixing the properties all the time. Whether he's fixing new properties or whether he's fixing plumbing issues, whatever it is, But I mean, I don't do it, but I do manage the rest of it, all the contracts, the sourcing. And if you guys have or need ideas on where to find renters, like good renters, I could tell you, how to do it and how to do it cheaply. For screening, I use Rent Spree, real easy. Send them the link. And California Association of Realtors, they do that for free. You send them the link and they pay, I think, $65 or maybe $45. You get a background check, you get a financial check. They have employment verification, they do a credit check, they do an eviction check, and they run them against the criminal one, which is like Megan's Law and all that stuff. And then I get all those reports, right? Actually, yesterday I ran 2 properties like that. They came back, it was credit score, income verified, and I was like, well, this is easy. I just text them the link. But yeah, so then are there any questions about kind of the way you look at or analyze or underwrite properties? Nope. Okay. What about you guys on in Tracy or Merced or Los Angeles?
Can you repeat the question?
Any questions about like how to underwrite, how to look at them, how to determine if it's a good value? If there are questions outside, then feel free to turn on the mic. If not, I'll keep on going. So you typically, the way it works is that it says, okay, hey, now I know how to look at properties, but we're not, right? How many of you guys believe, well, okay, don't think about kind of what I said. I just flipped the property, bought a couple of them, but that there are properties available in this market like that, right? I'm gonna say because I can see you shaking your head. No, right?
There are always properties available like that.
Like that? Okay. Yeah. Well, bring them to me when you get it. When you bring it, if you don't want to buy them out, you can represent me. That's awesome. But more the merrier, right? It's just like, yeah, bring it to me. I'll buy it from you. But yeah, so because we're so active, right? What I've known that's worked for me the most is networking with people. This is why networking is so important. In the last year, I bought 10 the last year. That's 18 months, 18, whatever it is, 10, right? So there's a lot of different ways, but the way I found him was I contacted realtors. When I had a little bit of extra money, I contacted the realtors and I said, hey, just like that. Hey, I noticed that you did a flip a year ago, wherever it was. Can I ask you if you have something? Bring it to me. You can represent me. If we flip it, you can represent me there too. That's the biggest disconnect that we have as realtors is trying to earn that commission, right? And when I coach or when I work with folks, it's like, no, I want to represent myself. It's like, yeah, you do, but do you really want to lose out on a deal that I could take to their other investor that's going to let them represent? So do you want to be the investor or do you want to be the salesperson? Because sometimes you can't be both. And the deals that I've gotten, the best deals have been by me letting other people represent me. Both the flips, somebody else represented me.
Less liability that way too.
Yeah, exactly. Less liability. That's a good way to look at it. You're just a customer. You don't have to deal with all that stuff, right? But again, I'm looking at the ARV. So when we look at what was that?
You get to be paid instead of the other way around.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a good, yeah. So when I'm looking at things, I'm trying to figure out, hey, there's opportunity out there. I don't want to step over $1 to pick up a nickel. Is the way I, and it kind of takes your ego to get out of the way. I know because it took for me, but I'm telling you, if you guys are in a place where you want to do it, network and let them know you're not only that, I always tell them, hey, I'm going to be the best client you've ever had. You give me the terms, keep them. I'll pay for your TC fee. If they're not paying you enough commission, I'll pay you the rest of it. Why? Because I'm baking it into my ARB model. You see what I'm saying? I'm baking it into my ARB model, and I know at the end of the transaction, after I refinance and pull my money out, I'm going to get that back too. So everybody's winning at that point, right? And there are some agents that are very, very investor friendly, and there are some that aren't, right? So find the ones that are. Find the ones that want to make the deal work, right? Not the ones that get in the way. Is at least what I've seen, right? And what I felt and my experience. And I'm currently I work with about 4 other investors that I do this at, and my next presentation is about repeat offenders, but that buy this like consistently, like they're just buying. If you take them a property, it could be from 100,000 to $2 million, $3 million. They'll figure out how to get it, right? If it makes sense for all these. So anyhow, but besides that, house, right? We can get into cold calling, mass mailing, door to door, internet, holding conferences just like this about Investor 101. I mean, how easy is it to get to go out and send some mailers out or call your past clients and be like, hey, I just learned how to analyze properties. I'm going to put on this thing. Let me buy you guys dinner. We'll have a couple of them in here. And now you got a signed set, right? Hey, buy a broker agreement for the next 90 days. Let me go out and look for some properties for you. Get your clients. You can find them. The thing, what I love about cold calls, and I know I had this conversation in Los Angeles with somebody, cold calls and door knocking. They don't like it. But what I love about knocking and you doing your homework is like, let's say that deal doesn't work for you. Now you got a listing. It's a win-win, right? I can't, it's too expensive or they want too much, but they can sell on the open market. All right, let's get it sold on the open market. Let's make you, and then you got a commission, right? And we could get into kind of where to find the numbers if you want some, and how to work that later. That's not what this is about. So yep, that same one, same slide. Oh yeah. So we'll go before that one. We'll go here. So yeah, so obviously that's all that. What I left off was the MLS, finding deals on the MLS, right? They're out there, and this is the one. This is the one I missed out at. So I'm gonna go over how to finance later, but I was trying to do a joint venture with somebody, and it didn't pencil out for them, and we were short by. I mean, they wanted a complete steal, which I thought we should have paid the 300,000 for. But anyhow, that's a different story. That's a learning lesson on my point.
Property with the cement in the backyard.
I don't know. I don't remember. I think it had like a walkway, but it was 3 houses. This one here actually sold in St. Augustine. So in 23, that's when I was looking at it. And it sold, and it was listed, I think, at 400 and some thousand at first.
Oh, no.
And then they dropped it and they dropped and dropped it. And if you can see the days on market there, almost a year on the market. But it ended up closing at 233,000.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. We had an offer for 185,000 when somebody else came and bought it. Right. Like I said, it becomes one of those things that I had the model, I had all the numbers ran at $300,000, it would still make sense. Right. Whatever way we looked at it. But again, because I decided to go on a joint venture with somebody who was new, who was risk aversion, is that the word? It didn't work out, but I'm not bitter about that, right? But so yeah, so no, but yeah, so that's what I mean. That's on the MLS. When I talked to her, I submitted my own offer. She didn't want to represent the buyer. It was a probate, I believe, or something. There was 3 brothers involved.
Yeah.
It was just a hot mess, right? The way it was perfect for me. I walked the properties, and if we go down there, yeah, there it is. So I walked the properties, and I think they probably needed about 20,000 each. Tiny little houses, maybe about 700, 800 square feet. One was a little bit bigger, 850, 900 max. New roofs, new plumbing. I mean, it needed everything, right? One of them needed a foundation adjustment. Foundation that was kind of like this, but because I've done this before, they're raised foundations, so I know I could get somebody out there for $1,200 and straighten my place out. And it was hardwood floors, so I was like, oh, I don't have to do all that stuff. Anyways, I'm still excited about it, but it's gone now. What was that?
They're wondering how much you're paying to have a.
I said $1,200 to do the foundation work.
Because it's raised.
Right.
Because it's raised. Yeah, because it's already raised. So then what happened was that there was a joist broken in the bottom. So it's just, they literally take car jacks, and because I've seen them do it, they take car jacks on all sides, they lift it up, and then they brace it in the middle. Yeah, they just cut it, put it brand new. I mean, it's a 2x6 most of the time, right? With 2x6. So it's more the labor that can pay for the cost. But again, it's just like any other business, right? It's the people that aren't in it. I mean, could get upsold and they get told, oh, I have to fix your foundation. It's going to fall. You're going to need a new roof. You're going to need this. You're going to need this. But the reality is, when you know what you're looking at, or you have an honest crew, then they're going to tell you the truth, and it's not going to be as expensive as you think, right? But what was nice about that is that everybody was scared of it, right? So somebody ended up getting a good deal. Anyhow.
And it wasn't you.
Anyway. I don't drink on the weekdays, but you know what? I'm going to start doing that. So yeah, so then this is what I brought it in at, right? When I was looking at it, it was a 233. At that point, I thought the ARV was 425,000. That means that there's $192,000. Again, I have all this as well to plug in. You're almost earning double of your investment,
Why didn't you dump your partner and just
Go for it yourself.
That was the issue. I learned my lesson.
They were family.
So I was asked, why didn't I was asked, why didn't I dump my family? I mean, not family. Why didn't I dump my partner? And that's because they were family. That's why. As long as it wasn't my wife, I'm fine. So 3 units, right? At the low end, the rent was $4,000. At the high end, it would have been $4,500. Mortgage payment on $233,000. At that point, I believe it was in the 6.5, or I don't remember what I based it on, but I think it was 6.5, $1,600 a month. So then your down payment is $47,000. Your monthly return on your cash on cash, 75%, because you're making $2,800 a month after it's rented, that's a 75% cash on cash. What stock market can do that, right? It's like you really have to get lucky and kind of be that day trader to earn that. But then it's just going to drop. This will never drop. Your cash is your cash and your holdings are your holdings, right? Cap rate, if I resold it, was 24%. Huge, huge. And then if I was going to flip it, $192,000, right? That one. I mean, that's what it was.
If you hold them, who do you use for your insurance?
Currently I switched everything to the online company. Allstate is Allstate. No, I can tell you who. Sorry, I got asked about insurance because I know insurance is a big thing right now. AAA.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, they insured, and I had to switch because Farmers dropped all my rentals, so I had to switch them all over.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking at my payment, AAA.
Safeco's leaving next. this
Are they?
next year.
Yeah, so they're asking about insurance. Insurance is pretty hard for rentals or second homes, Farmers. All the big brands aren't doing it, but AAA is doing it. AAA, I just called them up. I gave them the square footage. They would send an inspector out after, and they just said, "Okay, here you go." Boom. It's a little bit more expensive than I thought it would be, but it's still.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I got it. So yeah, that's what that looks at, right? And that was my projection. Now, if you go down one slide, this is what it actually did. So they ended up buying it. Somebody ended up buying it. They kept it for a year, as you can see here, and then they ended up reselling it at $573,000. So now go down one more. Yep. So that's what that looks like now. So then they earned about $300,000 minus the expenses that they did on there, right? Bought at 233, the Rio ARV after it was sold, $340,000. Yeah, at 573, $340,000 equity. I don't know what happened. Spam.
Call coming.
That was weird. How do I share this again?
Think you just need to go to the
Slides.
slides.
Okay.
Can you guys still see the slides?
Well, no wonder you're still bitter about it. That was.
Yeah. So
To replicate.
yeah. No. Well, and they're that's what I'm saying.
$100,000 into it, you're still making good money.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but you look at their cash on cash. They did. My rentals are right in there. I saw the not the performer, the rental, whatever you call it, and they were making $4,500 a month. So the whole time, I think it was real quick. They didn't do much to these properties. I figured that they were gonna. I was looking to gut them. I was like, wow, these guys got them done right away. Anyhow,
Yeah, they just put lipstick up there.
that's it. But they got it rented, and then let's say it took them 6 months. I don't think it took them that long. So they still made an extra $24,000 on top of that because they sold it within a year. So now there's $24,000. So their cash on cash return huge. The ARV 340,000. Like you said, even if they invested 100,000, I doubt it. They still made 240 at the end of the sale. So yeah, are they out there? They're absolutely out there. Right? They are definitely out there. You just have to look on the MLS. And this is my pitch to everybody in Merced, Los Banos here, and Tracy is that look outside of your city. Look at the little cities that are kind of not doing as good. I think where's Keys? Keys is here, right? A place like that, somewhere where you're like, it's right outside where the growth has to go, or people that can't afford rent here anymore are traveling to, right? Because that's where you're going to find these type of deals. This one was in Gustine, which is about 10 miles northwest of Los Banos, but it's not the city of Los Banos. I buy a lot in Dos Palos, right? It's right next door to Los, but it's
It's a nice area.
yeah, and it's cities that people are scared of investing in if you get into it.
You bring 20% in?
No, and that's what we're going to get into right now. I'm glad my presentation kind of flows that way. She asked what type of down payment I needed to get it. So this is perfect. Before we go on that, so look at the cities. Like this is an encouragement for you guys. If you're looking at it, if you are going to prospect, if you are going to call agents, talk to those. Like for example, I'm looking at Chacho and Madera right now. Again, I'm going further east because I know I could probably find cheaper properties. If you have the bandwidth and you're looking for yourselves or even for investors, Michigan City right now is pretty hot. So if you want to go out of state, Tennessee and the Carolinas. What I look for when I'm looking out of state are where's California sending their workforce to build stuff for California. The state of California is currently working on changing all their public transportation to solar. So where are those engines being built? You know where they're being built? They're being built in South Carolina, and they're opening a plant, right? And so then what does that mean? If all this high income is going to go over there, let's say for the next 5 years, they're going to need housing. So why not go over there where in the South Carolina, and buy in the little city or next door to it buy 24 units. I think I saw 20 units for $400,000. Like go buy 20 units, fix them up. Let's say that you know that they're coming from LA, they may be paying $2,500, $3,000 a month in rent. Hey, come in here, look at this beautiful apartment for 1,800, and you still got the same salary. You'll rent them like that, keep it or sell it. Sell it before the project is done, or it could be permanent for a while. I don't know, but there's opportunity everywhere. But I really, really, really like the ones around here because we're super familiar and we could just drive in front of it. Cool. Questions about that? About where to find them? No. How about you guys, Tracy or Merced or Modesto? I'm sorry, Los Manos? No? Okay, going, gone. Go for it. Cool. Okay, so acquisition or funding. So acquisition or funding. This is where a lot of people, not everybody, get caught up. Like, wow, this sounds all good. Like you could find them, I'm jazzed, I'm ready to go buy something right now. But how am I doing? I don't have any money, right? I think somebody said money. Yeah, I don't have any money. I don't have any money, right? So there's multiple ways of doing it. Sorry, I know. Yeah, so conventional, right, is kind of what you mentioned, doing 20% down. That's an easy way to go about it. But with conventional financing, my issue with conventional financing is that's a big down payment, and you can never get that back. Not never, but it's not like a 6 month I'm going to get my money back. It's like you have to wait till it naturally appreciates, right? And like I said, I'd like to be liquid, and I don't like to have my money tied up that way for 4 or 5 years. And you have to find a nicer property. You can't find a property that you're going to force equity because the bank has to be able to finance, right? That's number one. DSCR. Are you guys familiar with DSCR loans? No. Okay, so a DSCR loan, what I love, and these are, I'm refinancing right now a lot of my properties into this type of loan. They go based on the value plus your rent. So they don't take any of your debt to income into consideration. So, so if you have investors that are looking, or you're looking yourself and you happen to have 10 mortgages already, this doesn't care. Okay, this doesn't care at all. So the DSCR, the way it works is it says, okay, I got that 3 unit, right? I rented for $4,500. So now if the value is there, they'll let you borrow up to how much your rental income is a month for their payment. So what's, I don't know how much, $4,000 a month, that's about a $450,000 mortgage. So you could pull out $450,000 as long as the rent covers your mortgage, right? Obviously, if the property appraises for DSCR, because it's a residential product, which is super cool. That's, again, I love it because they're not worried about me. They're not worried about whether or not I have a house payment or whatever. As long as you have a decent credit score, which I think is 680 plus, you're good. And if you have the rental income coming in, private hard money, you could find some that are typically that could just be equity based. So if you have a property that has, again, a lot of forced equity, like that one for 230,000, and then it's worth 550 after fixed. There's lenders out there that'll let you borrow that 100% of that money if you've done it before. Plus, they'll let you borrow the money to rehab it, as long as you have an exit plan. Super cool. The interest rates, yeah, definitely a lot higher, right?
Way higher.
They could be between 12. Well, now they're probably 12, 13%. But again, you bake it into your model. You put it in there. It's like, hey, this is my holding cost until I have it. Then, so can I pull that money out at that? And obviously, if you don't have the money to sustain it for 4 months or whatever, then that's a different situation, right? But at the same time, you could do that, right? And this here, the private and the hard money, is the way I bought in. I purchased half my properties, and actually the most recent 10 were with private hard money.
What is usually the term for the loan? Is it 5 years, 10 years?
No, hard money right now, they're doing between 1 to 3.
How much?
1 to 3 years.
1 to 3 years.
Yeah, 1 to 3 years, because the market's shifting and moving so fast. It used to be that you could get 3 to 5 years. But now what I'm seeing out there and what I've been pricing out is 1 to 3 years. So again, the goal isn't to have that long term, is to have it for 6 months, 9 months, and move it into a conventional loan or a DSCR loan. If that's what you're kind of working towards, at least if you're keeping it. And if you're selling, then who cares? You got 6 months, you're in and you're out. Cool. So then this one here, private money loans, also for those of you guys that own a property, they also work with what's called cross collateral financing, meaning that if you have a property with some equity in it, and then you have a property that you want to buy with equity in it, they'll finance this property, some of them plus extra so you could fix it, but they'll lien your primary or wherever you have the most equity. So what does that mean for you guys, right? What does that mean for us? Not just you guys, is that we're coming in with zero out of pocket. If you think about it. You're not coming in. They're giving you the money to be able to purchase it. They're giving you money to be able to fix it. So where's your fund? Where's your liquidity at? Still in your bank, right? Still in your bank. Some of them will actually give you a draw so you could pay that same mortgage off because they're just brokers. So then you'll be paying the mortgage from the draw. I love it. Like I said, that has to be the easiest way to actually. That's not true. That's the second easiest way to get into this type of business, which is a landlord or flip business. The second one is the number 4, seller financing. My ultimate favorite is seller financing because it's all negotiated with the seller. Currently, that was my first property that I purchased. It was a seller financing property. I just happened to I listed it, and then it couldn't sell. They had an offer for whatever it was, and it just wouldn't close because the property was hard up. It was just terrible, right? And this is a quick story, a rabbit hole. I took my in-law to it, and they said, "Wow, you just need to knock this whole place down, like bulldoze it," right? But that was my first property to get in. Nobody wanted it. I offered. I said, "I'll buy it for you, but you have to carry the paper," is what they call it. Okay, I'll carry it. We put terms together. I paid what they were listing it at, based on their terms, right? Sometimes these guys want a little bit higher interest rate. Sometimes they'll work with you. Sometimes they want their money out in 3 years or 4 years. If again, it's zero money down, you're coming in, you could fix it for some equity, turn it into a regular, or if it's long enough terms, good enough terms, keep it. Some people that have a lot of property, this is good for those people that have, property that are in a place where if they sell it, they're going to pay a whole bunch of capital gains.
Yeah,
but
they don't have to pay it all at once.
Yeah, exactly. And then they pay whatever you pay them per year. So if you're paying them $30,000 a year in mortgage, that's what they go off of their books, which is cool. Like I said, it could be a win-win for everybody in the right situation. I have a seller right now that's coming up in Los Banos that's an option. They're like, "Oh yeah, they come in with $200,000. I'll carry the rest of it, and we'll figure out the interest rate." And what he told me, what's the lowest interest rate I could charge? All right. So I think it's like 4.25 right now. There's a floor on what you can charge interest if you're letting people borrow money according to the federal government. Because they don't want you, I don't know. They want their money too, I guess. I have no idea.
They don't want you the ones that are gonna profit from it, that's why.
Yeah, whatever it is. But yeah, so find it. And there's people out there. And again, we don't, as real estate agents, we have a tendency of not presenting that option because I don't know. Maybe because we've never been taught. But when I talk to folks that have a lot of equity, that have inherited property and that are looking to, they're like, and then I ask them, well, what are you going to do with the profits? I was asked, what are you going to do with, because I'm looking for investors, to be honest with you. But what are you going to do with the profits? And they say, well, I don't know. I was thinking about putting in the stock market. Well, what's it going to pay you? Well, right now it's kind of weird. I said, well, how about you take a little money out there and carry the rest of the paper and we'll get like 7% for you, right? That's where the guy said, okay, yeah, let me look at that. Why not? Because he doesn't need all the money. He doesn't want to pay that much tax on it because it's based on when his bond passed away. Yes. So then that's kind of where, well, if I don't have to pay tax on this and then still earn interest plus I make more money here, then I'm willing to do that because I don't need $500,000 or 550,000, whatever it is. So that's an option. Again, I love it. That's the best way to do it. And then there's joint venture, right? Go to the next one. Okay, yeah, so we'll go first. So joint venture could be this is the easiest way to do a joint venture. And I don't even know if they can still hear me. Can they still hear me? Can you guys still hear me? I don't know. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Yeah, because I have this thing in my ear so you guys can hear me, but it's not making any. So joint venture, this is where I kind of got caught up in that last deal that I cried about for a couple minutes. But that one is the way I see it play out, or the way I see it play out, is because you guys are on the ground. You guys are first to the bone, as they say, right? So then, if you have investors that are looking for property, and I'm sure you guys get these text messages all the time or calls, you can say, hey, if I find the property, and you have the money, I could fix it or work with contracts and all that. But then let's work it together like a partnership. Start off small. Say, hey, just it'll be a partnership. Charge them 10% plus your commission of the net proceeds. And then what are you doing? You're building up your residual to be able to acquire property, right? If you don't have any other property. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you could do that. And the more deals you bring to somebody, the more likely that they'll do that with you. Okay. I've done that. Well, I've done it successfully twice. Once not so, but not because it didn't work out during the process. It just didn't work. But that's a good way to do it, right? It's like you bring it to them. Again, you guys are one thing that I feel, and when we're talking to folks, is that as real estate agents, we don't give ourselves enough value, right? It's It's like you bring a deal to an investor, you bring it to them and they're underwriting it. And they're like, well, okay, I'll buy this from you, but I'm only gonna pay you 1% commission because you're gonna resell it for me. It's like, no, man, what are you talking about? Then if you don't buy it, I'm gonna take somebody who's gonna pay me because guess what? You're looking at earning 340,000 bucks. This is a business relationship and you're gonna pay me my 3%, or I'm gonna take it to somebody else. I mean, that's just what it is. And they understand that because they understand numbers, right? Now that I'm been kind of in the business doing this, like, yeah, that's why but I personally, I just get rid of that and say, I'll pay your full commission, I'll pay you 3%, I'll pay your TC, whatever it is. Because again, I'm baking it into the thing. And that's the way, if you have investors, you should start training them that way, is what I'm saying. Start training that way. Hey, you don't want it, that's okay. I have George, he'll buy it from me. Yeah, right. They're not gonna want to lose it. The last one, now that we're here, and I'm sorry, I'm over. The last one, now that we're here, and this is something that was actually brought up by one of my lenders. He said, hey, you guys have a bunch of people that earn pretty good living. I said, why aren't he I was talking about doing flips. He does flips himself, and that he's at the stage in life. He's 60 something. He's looking just to make that extra money. He's like, why don't you guys put together a real estate fund? And then he gave me this model, and he's like, hey, this is kind of the way it could work. And I simply said, hey, if people in your office or whatever it is, you say, you know, I'm earning a certain amount of money. Why don't we all just get a trust fund and we all get a corporation and get a controller? And the controller, what they'll do is you'll commit 2% or 1% or 10%, whatever you want to do of your commission until you build that fund to be able to do something together. And then you start kind of scaling that way. It's the same thing venture capitalists do when they're raising funds. Same thing, same concept. The only thing is at a smaller scale, right? We're not dealing with a couple $100 million. We're dealing with a couple $1,000, right? We're trying to earn 20-25% to be able to purchase it. So again, an idea which I think is kind of cool, and he even gave me little buyout clauses and all that. I mean, I think he's really thought it through. He might have been trying to sound like he worked on that, but I think it's cool. I think it's cool. I think it's a good idea. It's new. It's kind of like, again, it's if you're doing 1-2% of your commission and you're okay with it, then but you have to trust each other. That's
Right, that's what you need to talk about it.
yeah, or get a third party control. Hire an attorney that can control that for you guys, right? So I think that's it. I know.